Once upon a time in the town of Otu, there was a lady named Ifoma. Ifoma was a woman that made heads turn. When she walked past, men stopped to stare. Women whispered about her beauty, her grace, her charm. Everything about her was perfect. Her skin, smooth like water. Her smile, bright like the midday sun. And her money, plenty. She never lacked anything. Men loved her. They fell at her feet, ready to do anything just to have her. Every man wanted to be the one to hold her hand, to call her his own. But no man ever lasted long. This is because Ifoma had a rule. One man, 1 year. Every Valentine's Day, she had a boyfriend. By the next Valentine, she had a new one. No one ever questioned it. They only envied the man who was lucky enough to be with her. But there was something else, something strange. Ifoma likes to give her boyfriends a special gift for Valentine. But she never gave expensive gifts. No perfumes, no watches, no fancy clothes. She gave only one thing, just a condom. Small, neatly wrapped, always the same. At first the men laughed. A condom? That's my Valentine's gift? They would ask, shaking their heads. Ifoma would only smile. It's special, she would say. Let's use it tonight. And they did. But something happened after they used it. And this something, none of them ever lived to tell. People talked, but no one suspected her. How could they? Ifoma was too beautiful, too charming. To the world, she was just a woman enjoying love, moving from one man to another. No one knew the truth. And Ifoma herself, she never questioned it. You see, Ifoma had grown up without a mother. Her father, Chief Otieno, was a wealthy and highly respected man in society. He had raised her alone, ensuring she had the best education, the best lifestyle, and all the privileges a girl could ask for. But he was also a man of strong traditions. After Ifoma became an adult, a young, beautiful lady, every year before Valentine's Day, Otieno would call Ifoma to him. She would sit before him like a little girl, even though she was grown. And he would say the same words. Ifoma, my daughter, you have no mother to guide you. A man you bring into your life must be tested. Bring him home before Valentine's Day so that I can see if he is worthy. Ifoma never questioned it. She never asked why. To her, it was simple. Her father wanted the best for her. He wanted to know the man she loved. He wanted to make sure she was safe. So every year, she obeyed. She would bring her boyfriend home, introduce him to Otieno. The old man would smile, ask questions, listen carefully. Then, when the visit was over, Ifoma would leave with her lover, never thinking twice about it. But what she did not know, what no one knew, was that the test was never about love. It was, in fact, something far more sinister. When it all started, Amadi was the first victim, a perfect boyfriend, young, ambitious, and deeply in love with Ifoma. He was a banker with a promising career and had plans of marrying her. They were the perfect couple. People saw them together and said, these two will marry. They are made for each other. As Valentine's Day came, Ifoma did what she always did. She took Amadi home. Chief Otieno welcomed him with a smile. His voice was calm, his questions simple. Where do you work? What do you want for the future? How do you feel about my daughter? Amadi answered each question with confidence. He spoke about his love for Ifoma, his plans, his dreams. Otieno only nodded, watching him closely. When the visit ended, Ifoma and Amadi left. Ifoma felt happy. Papa likes him, she thought. This is good. That evening, Amadi took Ifoma out. They had dinner at the best restaurant in town. They laughed, held hands, talked about the future. Then, as the night stretched, Ifoma leaned close and whispered, "Let's not go home tonight. Let's book a hotel. Just us." Amadi smiled. He was a man in love. "Anything for you, Ifoma," he said. They checked into a luxury hotel, a place with soft beds and golden lights. Everything was perfect. As they got comfortable and about to get intimate, Ifoma reached into her purse and pulled out a small, neatly wrapped package. She placed it in Amadi's hand with a playful smile. "I got you something," she said. Amadi unwrapped it. "A condom." He laughed. "This is what you got me?" Ifoma nodded. "I want our night to be special. Let's use this one." Amadi saw no reason to refuse. He trusted Ifoma. That night, they made love. By morning, Amadi was dead. His body lay still on the bed. No wounds, no signs of struggle. His face was peaceful, as if he had simply drifted away in his sleep. And Ifoma? She was gone before the sun rose. She only found out about his death later that day. The news spread quickly. She ran home breathless, shaking, tears streaming down her face. "Papa, Amadi is dead. We were together last night, and now he's gone." Chief Otieno pulled her close, rubbed her back gently, his face calm. "It was not meant to be, my daughter," he whispered. "You will find another." And just like that, the matter ended. No questions, no police, no one wondered why. Ifoma grieved for a while, but life moved on. 1 year passed. Life moved on. People forgot. And then another Valentine's Day came. Then came Thomas. Thomas was different from Amadi. He was older, wiser, a man of business. He had traveled far and seen many things. But the one thing he had never seen before was a woman like Ifoma. From the moment he laid eyes on her, he was lost. He wanted her, not just for now, forever. "Ifoma, you are the woman I have been waiting for," he said one evening. "I want to marry you." Ifoma smiled. "Let's take things slow," she said, but deep inside, she knew how it would end. Valentine's Day came, and like always, she took him home. Chief Otieno welcomed Thomas like an old friend. He smiled, shook his hand, asked his usual questions. "Where do you come from? What do you do? What are your plans for my daughter?" Thomas answered with confidence. "I love Ifoma. I want to build a future with her." Otieno nodded, his eyes calm, unreadable. "Good man," he said. The visit ended, and Ifoma and Thomas left. That evening, Thomas took Ifoma out for a romantic dinner. Expensive food, soft music, candlelight. He held her hand across the table, his eyes filled with love. "One day, we will be married," he said. "I will give you everything you want." Ifoma only smiled. The night stretched on, and Ifoma leaned closer. "Let's book a hotel," she whispered. "I don't want to go home." Thomas's face lit up. "Anything for you, my love." They checked into a luxury hotel. The room was perfect, the air filled with warmth and laughter. As they settled in, Ifoma reached into her purse. She pulled out a small, neatly wrapped package and placed it in Thomas's hands. "A special gift for tonight," she said. Thomas unwrapped it. "A condom." He smirked. "So you came prepared?" Ifoma giggled. "Let's use this one." Thomas saw no reason to refuse. He trusted her. That night, they made love. By morning, Thomas was dead. His body lay still, his face peaceful. No wounds, no struggle, no explanation. And Ifoma? She was gone before the sun rose. Later that day, when she heard the news, she ran home, tears in her eyes. "Papa, why does this keep happening? Thomas is dead, just like Amadi." Otieno held her close, his voice gentle. "Some men are not meant for you, my daughter," he whispered. "You will find another." And again, Ifeoma never asked questions. Another Valentine's Day passed. Another man was gone, and the world moved on. The years rolled by, and the story remained the same. One man after another. Each Valentine's Day, Ifeoma had a new love, a man who adored her, who saw her as a dream. Each February 14th, she took him home. Chief Otieno welcomed him warmly, smiled, nodded, asked his usual questions, and each time the man left with Ifeoma, thinking he had found his future. Then the night would come, a romantic dinner, laughter, a soft whisper. "Let's not go home. Let's book a hotel." The man would agree. And when the time was right, Ifeoma would reach into her purse, pull out a small, neatly wrapped gift, and place it in his hands. "I got you something," she would say. Smiling, he would open it, a condom, and by morning, he would be dead. No wounds, no signs of struggle, just gone. And Ifeoma, she was never there to see it happen. She cried each time. She mourned each man, but she never asked why, never stopped to wonder. Every year, she told herself it was fate, that maybe love was not meant for her, that maybe she was cursed, but she never saw the pattern, never questioned the strange way death followed her love. And people, oh, they whispered, "Why does Ifeoma change boyfriends every year? How come none of them ever last? Why does she never talk about her exes?" But no one dared to ask her. She was too beautiful, too graceful, too untouchable. Who would suspect a woman like Ifeoma? And so the years passed, and then came Ejiro. And Ejiro? He was different. This one was not like the others. He was not rich, not powerful, not the kind of man Ifeoma usually dated. But he had something the others didn't, a mother who prayed. Ejiro's mother had raised him with strong words, words that echoed in his ears like a warning bell. "My son, a woman who gives you too much money is a trap." But Ejiro did not listen. Ifeoma had been good to him. When he was struggling, she paid his rent. When school fees became a problem, she helped him. She was kind, generous, caring. How could she be a trap? When Ifeoma took him to meet Chief Otieno, Ejiro felt no fear. The old man welcomed him with a smile, asked his usual questions. "Where do you come from? What do you do? What do you see in my daughter?" Ejiro answered each one, confident, respectful. But something about Otieno's smile made him uneasy. It was too calm, too knowing, but he pushed the thought away. Then Valentine's Day came. Ifeoma planned the night like always. A beautiful dinner, soft laughter, hands touching across the table. Then, as the night deepened, she leaned closer. "Let's book a hotel." Ejiro agreed. But just before they entered, he did something the others had never done. He called his mother. Ejiro held his phone to his ear, standing just outside the hotel entrance. His heart was steady, his mind clear. "Mama, I won't be coming home tonight," he said casually. Silence. Then his mother's voice came, low but sharp, the kind that sent chills through a man's bones. "Ejiro, where are you?" "I'm with Ifeoma, Mama," he replied, his voice light like it was nothing. "Ejiro," she said again, slower this time, "leave that place and come home now." Ejiro sighed. "Mama, it's just one night. I'm with my woman." "Ejiro, I said come home." Something in her voice shifted, a firmness, a warning. Ejiro frowned. "Mama, why are you acting like this? I told you I won't be coming home." My spirit is not at peace, Ejiro, she said, her breath unsteady now. Come home now. Ejiro shook his head. Mama, nothing is wrong. It's Valentine's. We're just going to spend the night together. His mother's voice broke. Ejiro, my son, please, I am begging you. If you love me, don't sleep there tonight. Come home. Ejiro felt a weight press on his chest. His mother never begged. Before he could speak, Ifoma reached for his phone. Must you tell your mother everything? She whispered, her voice teasing, but there was something behind it. Ifoma, wait. She placed a soft hand on his chest, her fingers warm, slow, drawing circles on his skin. Ejiro, you are a man, she murmured, not a little boy. Do you still need permission to be with your woman? Ejiro hesitated. Ifoma's lips curled into a smile. Her eyes locked onto his. Just tell her good night and hang up, she whispered. Or do you want your mother to control you forever? Ejiro looked at Ifoma, then back at his phone. Mama, I will talk to you tomorrow. Ejiro, don't do this. Click. He hung up. His mother held the phone to her chest, her heart pounding. She closed her eyes. She fell to her knees, and she began to pray. My God, my Father, my Savior, please save my son. Her voice shook, but her spirit was strong. Wherever he is, whatever evil is before him, Lord, deliver him. She rocked back and forth, her lips moving faster, her words tumbling out in whispers, shouts, cries. Not my son, not my son, not my son. She prayed with all her strength, with all her heart, because deep inside, she knew something was coming. And Ejiro? He walked into the hotel, smiling, unaware that his mother was fighting for his life. At the hotel, everything was perfect. The lights were dim, the air was warm, and Ifoma's smile was as bright as ever. Ejiro relaxed. He told himself he had worried for nothing. Ifoma poured him a drink. They laughed. They talked about the future. Then, just like always, Ifoma reached into her purse. She pulled out a small, neatly wrapped package and placed it in Ejiro's hands. A special gift for tonight, she said, her voice soft, playful. Ejiro unwrapped it, a condom. The moment he saw it, something deep inside him, something strong, something loud, shouted, Danger! His chest tightened. His fingers felt cold. Why this one? He asked, his voice steady but sharp. I have my own. Ifoma's smile flickered, just for a second, but Ejiro saw it. But this is my gift, she said. Let's use it. Ejiro frowned. His heartbeat picked up. Ifoma, why are you insisting? She forced a laugh, but it did not reach her eyes. Just to make the night special. But Ejiro did not listen. He stood his ground. No, Ifoma, I will use mine. They argued back and forth, but finally, Ifoma gave in. Then, they got intimate and made love like that night, without any protection. And that was when it happened. Ifoma gasped. Her hand clutched her stomach. Her body swayed. Then she screamed. A terrible sound, like an animal in pain. She dropped to her knees, fingers clawing at the floor. Then she vomited blood. Thick, dark blood. It spilled from her mouth, staining the floor, her dress, her hands. She fell on her side, her body twisting, jerking. Ejiro jumped back, his mind racing. Somebody help, he shouted. Ifoma, what's happening? She could not answer. Her eyes rolled back, her body convulsed. Ifoma, the woman who had taken so many men to this same moment, was now the one fighting for her life. And Ejiro? He stood there, frozen, because he knew this was not normal. This was something else. The hotel staff rushed in, but the moment they saw Ifoma on the floor, shaking, Vomiting blood, they stopped. They did not scream. They did not panic. They just stared because they knew her, Ifoma. Every year, she came. Every year, she brought a man. And by morning, that man was always dead. They knew what always happened on February 15th. And now, for the first time, the one on the floor was not the man. It was her. No one touched her. No one moved. They only did one thing. They called Chief Otieno. When the old man arrived, his face was calm, his hands steady. But when he stepped inside and saw Ifoma on the floor, gasping for breath, choking on her own blood, his whole body stiffened. His lips trembled, his hands shook, because he knew the ritual had failed. Ejiro was supposed to die. But Ejiro lived, and that meant only one thing. Ifoma had to take his place. Ejiro stood there, watching. His head was spinning, his heart racing. "What's happening? What's wrong with her?" he demanded. But Otieno did not answer. His chest rose and fell. His eyes darted around the room. His mind was running, thinking, calculating. Then the hotel manager stepped forward. His voice was cold, quiet. "Chief, tell us the truth. What is happening to your daughter?" The room fell silent. The staff, the manager, Ejiro, all of them watched the old man. And then, under pressure, under the weight of the moment, Chief Otieno confessed. Years ago, Otieno was not always rich. There was a time when he was just another struggling man. His land was failing. His businesses were collapsing. His wealth was slipping through his fingers like sand. He was desperate. So, one night, he went deep into the forest, searching for help. And he found it. A Voraslo. Powerful, old, full of dark magic. Otieno fell to his knees. "Give me riches, make me great." The sorcerer only smiled. "You want wealth?" "Yes," Otieno cried. "I will do anything." And the sorcerer nodded. "Then give us the one you love the most." Otieno's heart stopped. The one he loved the most? His mind flashed to his wife, the woman who had stood by him, the mother of his child. Number. He could not do it. But as the days passed, his land grew drier, his businesses crumbled, and his debt swallowed him whole. He had no choice. So, one night, he took his wife into the dark forest. She was sleeping. She did not know. And when they reached the place, under the full moon, he slit her throat. Her blood spilled onto the earth. Her last breath disappeared into the wind. And by morning, Otieno was rich. His businesses flourished. His land became fertile. Money poured in from every side. But the spirits were not done with him. They wanted more. Every year, they came for him. "Give us more." At first, he found strangers, men from other towns, men who would not be missed. But then, one day, the spirit spoke again. "Number 8 must be closer to your heart." Otieno panicked. He had nothing left except Ifoma, but he could not kill his own daughter. So, the spirits made him another offer. "She will bring the sacrifices for you. Ifoma would find the men, she would deliver them, and she would never know." So, he raised her to believe that every Valentine's Day, she had to bring her boyfriend home. He made her believe that meeting him was just a tradition, a way to test the man's worth. But what she did not know, what she never knew, was that once the man left his house, Otieno marked him, a dark ritual, a silent curse. Then, before the night ended, Otieno would give Ifoma a special condom, not just any condom, a condom coated with poison, the kind that did not kill instantly, the kind that absorbed into the skin and steals destiny, glory, and good fortune. Slow, quiet, invisible. By morning, the man would be dead. And Ifeoma, she would never suspect a thing. For 7 years, she had done this. For 7 years, she had been the perfect tool. And now the ritual had failed. She had brought Ejiro, but Ejiro lived, and so the spirits had come for her. Otieno knelt beside his daughter, his eyes wild with fear. He touched her face, his voice breaking. "Ifeoma, my daughter, hold on, hold on." But Ifeoma could not speak. Blood dripped from her lips. Her body was cold. The spirits had come to take what was owed, and this time, there was nothing Otieno could do. Ejiro stood there, frozen. His heart pounded so hard he could hear it in his ears. Ifeoma, the woman he loved, she had been killing men. Not with her hands, not with a knife, but with a single gift. And she never knew. She had brought them straight to their deaths, one after another, believing it was just love, just tradition. And now, the spirits had come for her. Ifeoma gasped for breath, her fingers trembling as they clutched the fabric of her dress. Her body convulsed again, and more blood poured from her mouth. Otieno held her, his hands shaking. "My daughter, stay with me." But Ifeoma was slipping away. Her eyes, once full of charm and beauty, now stared at nothing. She tried to speak, but no words came. Then, before sunrise, she took her last breath. The room went silent. Otieno knelt beside her lifeless body, his face hollow, his power gone. The ritual had claimed her instead. The spirits had taken what was owed. Ifeoma, the woman every man wanted, was gone. And Ejiro, he walked away, his heart heavy with the truth. Ifeoma had given him a gift, but his mother's prayers had saved him. Morning came. The sun rose, but for Otieno, there was no more light. The police arrived. The hotel staff, the people who had watched men die every year, finally spoke. They told the truth. This has happened before. This same woman, every year, the man she brings dies. And Otieno, they arrested him. His wealth, his power, his name, none of it could save him now. He was taken away, leaving behind nothing but the curse he had created. And Ejiro, he went home, straight to his mother. The moment he saw her, he fell to his knees. He grabbed her feet, held them tight, his tears falling like rain. "Mama, you were right," he whispered, his voice breaking. "I will never disobey you again." His mother, that woman of prayer, only smiled. She placed her hand on his head, nodded slowly, and said, "My son, you have seen the truth. Some gifts should never be accepted." And from that day, Ejiro made a promise. Never again would he ignore his mother's warning. And never again would he take a condom as a Valentine's gift. I hope you enjoyed the story. If so, please like the video, comment what you learned from the tale, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more enchanting tales just like this one. Thank you.